In the sunlit cemetery of the Spanish port city of Huelva, an unremarkable marble slab is hidden among the neat rows of stone crosses. It has a name carved on it: William Martin. Thousands of people pass by, unaware that the greatest mystery of the Second World War lies under this stone. The man lying in this grave has done the impossible. He outplayed Adolf Hitler, and he did it being absolutely, irrevocably dead. In the spring of 1943, Europe froze in anticipation of blood. Anglo-American troops were preparing to strike at the soft underbelly of the fascist empire to land in Sicily. But this step was obvious. Hitler's reconnaissance machine, which had entangled the continent with an invisible web of spies, was already pulling troops to the island. The landing threatened to turn into the largest massacre in history. The fate of hundreds of thousands of soldiers depended on whether the Führer could be made to believe that black was white. The plan originated deep underground, in a smoky London basement that once served as a wine cellar. It was here that the shadow architects of British intelligence wove their web. Among them was a young naval intelligence officer, Ian Fleming, the man who years later would give the world James Bond. But then, in 1943, his ideas seemed like the fruits of an inflamed mind: exploding canned food, glowing soccer balls for submarines. And the craziest of them is to throw a corpse with fake documents to the enemy. The idea would have remained on paper if it hadn't been for a strange incident. A year earlier, a British plane crashed off the coast of Spain. The body of a courier carrying real secret blueprints washed ashore. The Spanish authorities returned the body a day later. Panic broke out in London. Had the Germans opened the envelopes? The answer was provided by a microscopic detail worthy of forensic laboratories. The pockets of his tunic were buttoned up, and the buttons were caked with sea sand. If enemy agents were taking out papers, they would inevitably shake off the grains of sand. This triumph of deduction was the spark for 25-year-old MI5 Lieutenant Charles Chumley, a lanky giant with a curled mustache, a passion for insects, and a brilliant, unconventional mind. In tandem with the brilliant aristocrat, the head of the 17M department, Ewan Montague, they began to implement a macabre performance, which received the cynical code name Operation Mincemeat, minced meat. The first task was to find the perfect vessel for the greatest lies. In war-torn London, death was everywhere, but intelligence needed a specific dead man. A middle-aged man with no bullet wounds, no obvious injuries, and, most importantly, no relatives to ask questions. The shadow that emerged from oblivion was Glyndwr Michael, a 34-year-old tramp from Wales, the son of a miner, doomed from birth to poverty and madness. He died in an abandoned London house, accidentally or intentionally eating rat poison. For ambitious strategists from the basement, it was a gift from above. The effect of phosphorus upon autopsy in a provincial Spanish morgue will be indistinguishable from the effects of drowning at sea. So Glyndwr Michael ceased to exist. The creation of Major William Martin began in the ice chamber of the morgue. Montague and Chumley, like novelists, wove the fabric of someone else's reality. They understood that the devil was in the details. In order for German analysts to believe in Martin's existence, his pockets had to become a time capsule, storing the imprint of human life. A silver cross, theater tickets, a bill from an elite club, cigarettes, keys, and a pass to the headquarters were put into the dead tramp's uniform. They even persuaded a real bank clerk to write Martin an official notice about an overdue loan. But the crown of the illusion was love. A photo of a dazzling girl in a swimsuit, the MI5 secretary who won an underground Secret Service beauty contest, was carefully placed in the wallet. She became Pam, the fictional bride of the Major. Montague's friends wrote passionate letters on her behalf, soaked in tears of separation and dreams of a wedding. The receipt for the wedding ring closed the circle. The perfect man, ready for the perfect death. The main treasure for which this grandiose hoax was being conceived rested in a black leather briefcase. Inside were personal letters from British generals. The text was typed on a typewriter so that the ink would not spread in seawater. In these lines, between the everyday complaints, deadly misinformation was hidden. The Allies would strike Greece and Sardinia, and the maneuvers near Sicily were just a distraction. Each fold on the paper was photographed under a microscope. If the Germans unfold the sheets, the pattern of the bends will change forever, revealing the fact of reading. The briefcase was chained tightly to the dead man's belt. Delivery became the most difficult technical task. Dropping a body off an airplane means risking damaging the tissues when hitting the water. Throwing them off the ship would attract the attention of Spanish observers. The choice fell on the steel Leviathan, the submarine HMS Seraph. But it was warm inside the submarine. The flesh would start to rot. Then the brilliant inventor, Charles Fraser Smith, the real prototype of gadgetologist Q from future Bond novels, constructed a 2-meter steel sarcophagus weighing 200 kilograms. The body, dressed in a uniform and someone else's underwear, borrowed by the scouts from a recently deceased Oxford professor, was placed inside, covered with dry ice. On an April night, a submarine silently surfaced off the southwestern coast of Spain. The British sailors opened the sarcophagus, said a short prayer, and pushed William Martin into the black waves. The spy didn't say a word. In the early morning of April 30th, Spanish fisherman José Antonio Rey Maria went out to sea to fish for sardines. Among the gray waves, he noticed the yellow spot of a life jacket. Pulling the body up to the boat, the fisherman saw a face already touched by the merciless sun and ocean. A chain with a black briefcase stretched behind the corpse, like an anchor of secret knowledge. Flies were circling the deck. The fisherman steered the boat towards the shore, not even suspecting that right now, at this very moment, he was changing the course of world history with his own hands. The clockwork mechanism of Operation Mincemeat has been activated. The bait was cast, and Berlin was already preparing to swallow it.